Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie, and I'm just so glad that you've decided to spend some time with me. So, earlier this week, I was asked what I knew or if I knew anything about several states and even the US moving towards digital economies. So, I decided to do a little bit of research in that and would share it. We are living in a time of huge economic impacts, from the economic shutdowns connected to governmental policies related to COVID, inflation, and recession, which, by the way, no matter what the government is now telling us, recession has traditionally been understood to be when at least two economic quarters have shown negative economic growth, to the government's move towards a digital economy. This weekend, January 13th through 15th, is the World Crypto Conference in Zurich, Switzerland, which will be followed January 16th through 20th by the Crypto Summit, also in Zurich. Although both reference crypto in their titles, these conferences will address far more than just cryptocurrencies and economies. At these conferences, the various CEOs, etc., of crypto, digital, and clearinghouses that deal with electronic currencies will be addressing innovations, policies, and objectives with each other, as well as with governmental officials and policymakers. Cryptocurrencies are part of the blockchain economy, which is a decentralized ledger of all economic currency transactions across a peer-to-peer network, according to Euronews and Brookings.edu. These blockchain currencies are part of software codes that are stored and execute transactions when certain conditions are met. The blockchain acts outside of governments and does not tie into a country's economic stability or instability. With the rise of these cryptocurrencies, though, and about 16% of Americans invest in these currencies, governments have begun to study conversion of cash economies and currencies into electronic economies in order to counter the rise of the cryptocurrencies. So, see, there is a connection between cryptocurrencies and a digital economy. These central bank digital currencies are generally referenced as CBDCs and are gaining support amongst world governments. CBDCs are pegged to a country's currency. And right now, 8 Caribbean nations have launched the use of CBDCs to mixed results and reviews. 100 countries are currently evaluating the use of these systems and the introduction of these economies. By switching to CBDCs, governments or oversight agencies would be able to create, track, and validate transactions. They would have a central database controlled by a central bank. The central bank of the United States is actually the Federal Reserve. So in the US, it would be the Federal Reserve that would have oversight and control. And the United States is definitely moving in this direction. According to Congress.gov, Representative Foster introduced a bill, which was H.R. 2211, entitled the Central Bank Digital Currency Study Act of 2021. According to whitehouse.gov, in March 2022, President Biden was going to sign Executive Order one, let me do this, or Executive Order number 14067 to ensure responsible development of digital assets, which provided for a whole of government approach. Included were 6 priorities, which seemingly promoted the elimination of illegal activities such as terrorism. However, towards the end of the document, it stated that government would explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, CBDC, which is a digital dollar. And on federalreserve.gov, the Fed states that no decision has been made at this time on CBDCs, but that they are studying it. They issued a paper on this study, which is accessible on that site. So, two of the three branches of government, which includes various bureaucratic agencies, are currently moving in this direction. Basically, we would have an economy in which all transactions would go through the Fed or another bureaucratic agency and be monitored. With cash, we are able to spend cash in ways that the government does not see or does not monitor. But with the elimination of all cash currency, then all electronic transactions could be monitored. What they don't state is how far reaching these abilities would be. In connecting other economic oversights to the rise of a digital economy, would other transactions be denied if the government did not agree with our spending? Would we be forced into spending according to how the government would want us to spend? And would businesses that were not viewed as politically correct not be allowed to receive transactions? Could it actually shut down various sectors of the economy? Would the government invalidate how we choose to spend our money? The three major credit card companies have started to flag certain types of spending. They've started with certain types of gun purchases, stating that this would then curtail gun violence because they could monitor the purchasing of guns. But instead, is this a way to move towards not allowing the purchase of guns at all? Now, I'm not saying guns are good or bad or anything else, but many policies, many restrictions start in an area in which people will say, oh, yes, that would be a good thing. And then it can start spreading. Is this a move to further invalidate other types of spending? Again, the government states that the priority would be to ensure the safety and stability of their peoples. But that is how the early 20th century totalitarian governments took control of their peoples, by stating or promising that they were eliminating undesirable actions and undesirable peoples, from which it progressed to impacting all peoples except the elites. These totalitarian governments included both communist Soviet Union as well as fascist Germany. I am just introducing some of these economic developments that we should all be aware of, as they could have far reaching impacts and consequences. I am not a conspiracy theory minded person. And many times when I was teaching, I would reconfirm that. I'm not conspiracy minded. But sometimes when we connect some of the facts and factors, we can see patterns starting to emerge. And as a Christian, I do see the connection to biblical prophecies connected to the end times and the one government world. Revelation 13:16 through 17 states, in reference to the world leader or the Antichrist, that he forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark. The Bible clearly foretells a time in which the government will determine who is even able to participate in economic transactions. And with a digital economy, this becomes even more realistic and more doable. Please research these economic developments for yourself. I've just done a quick perusal. I've checked many sites and have reference to many of those sources and sites in this presentation. But no matter what economic implications there are, please remember that God is in control and cares for us and loves us. Matthew 26 reminds me of this. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? While we should be or may be aware of current developments and the connections there may be to the end times, we should not be worried about what lays ahead. Instead, Let us just rest in the comfort and love of the Lord. I hope you're going to have a good week. And again, thank you so much for spending some time.